subjective expressions of the brushstroke or whatever. He did what's called action painting. So you could see him in the act there, just putting an effort into the brushstroke says something about, or expresses something, right? So the minimalist, though, this is a Mondrian, I don't know how you say his name. Mondrian. How do you say it?
Get Mondrian.
I don't know, but so he's in Europe and he's getting so abstract that it's just kind of taken a geometric form. It still conveys an expression because there's still balance and sort of asymmetrical design to his works, right? So you could still sort of tell a story with it based on how he sets up the colors and lines. But very geometric, very abstract. And this is the Malbec, again, in Europe. He paints a black box. Wow, right? What did it take to think of that one? So these are some of the precursors then for minimalism. Let me see here. Another precursor, have you guys heard of John Cage, the musical composer? So he did this composition called 4:33, or 4 minutes and 33 seconds. Basically what that was is, here's the score for it.
Nothing.
Yeah. So he sits at the piano, and he has a stopwatch, and he times, it comes in 3 movements, he times like a minute or so, and then a couple minutes, the next movement, and another minute, till the 4 minutes and 33 seconds are done, and this whole time he doesn't play a single note. He actually closes the piano, maybe. And so the piece is really just the basics of music, which is, silence, and then in time, and then some sounds like maybe in the audience, someone's coughing or some paper is rattling or something like that. And that's what makes up the piece. So again, stripping down to the basics, getting rid of all the complexities and getting to something basic. So he influenced the minimalists quite a bit. And then now we get into the first minimalist. This is a guy named Frank Stella. And basically he was a painter, and he just painted some stripes, some lines. That's about it. So what you see him doing here, there's a reason why the lines are this size. And basically it's because this is how the thickness of the wood that made up the frame that framed the canvas. So what he's saying here by painting those lines is he wants to just do something that is essential for art and only art, which is the object of art. So as the modernists were saying, okay, what's unique to art or to painting, he's kind of saying, instead he's sort of undermining, using the same method but undermining it. So he's saying, well, what's necessary, what's so unique to art that it's just like completely necessary, and that's just an object. So to have like the canvas and what it sits on, and that's it. That's all you need to have art, is the object. So it's taking the modernist approach to sort of an ultimate or an absolute degree, right? And what he ends up doing is, so here's his lines, just basic lines. Sometimes color, they use color, because that's another sort of basic quality for an art piece. So there's nothing personal or expressive about this. That's why everything is sort of symmetrical and balanced. So it's not telling a story, it's not a narrative, it's not an expression, it's just an object, and that's it, plain and simple. So basically, why they call it literalist, the literalist movement, is because they take what was going on in modernism that taking what's unique to a painting, and they take it literally and say, oh, it's just an object and that's it. So here's some of his works. Now something interesting happens. So he's painting, but you see these weird shapes? Those are the shapes of the canvas, right? So it's kind of, he's sort of blurring the lines now between painting and sculpture. So it's sort of like a sculpture.
So there's holes in there?
Yeah, those are
The
notches.
canvas is that shape.
Yep.
Do you guys see that? There's
So it's
holes in
almost
the
like a
canvas.
sculpture on the wall. It's a little bit of both. And that was very interesting. This is why he's sort of the first minimalist. Because after him, here there's some better ones if I can get this to work.
Wow.
So look at that. That's pretty cool. It's like a sculpture.
And it's just one canvas, it's not a whole bunch of canvases put together?
I don't know how he does it. I don't know.
Is
These
that
ones
paint?
maybe are a little different. But yeah, they're paintings.
I think sometimes they're on board.
Are they on board and like lifted
Yeah,
a little
something
bit?
like that. I didn't research that too well.
I think that's cool though. I've never seen that.
And this leads us to our next. So, let's look at this. So this is a Magritte painting. He's a sort of a surrealist painter. Can you see over there? Am I in the way? And it says, this is not a pipe. Basically, it's in French. Ceci n'est pas une pipe. And what that means is, it's not a pipe. I mean, it's a picture, it's a painting of a pipe. It's not an actual pipe, right? So that's kind of what minimalism is saying. Or remember, like Plato in the cave. It's like the shadows on the wall. It wasn't the actual stuff. It's just a shadow of it. This is just a picture. So the minimalists realized that, and they decided instead. Hold on. They decided instead, let's make real stuff, because the real stuff is actually more powerful than. I think. Hold on. Let me see here. I have a quote by one of the minimalist artists. So this guy Donald Judd. Ignore this for a second. Let's go on to that. This is Donald Judd's work. So he says something like. So a work of art can be as powerful as it can be thought to be. Actual space is intrinsically more powerful and specific than paint on a flat surface. So basically what he's saying is, the power of a painting, why not just take that and make actual objects? So he got into sculpture. He started out as a painter and eventually moved into sculpture. And let me backtrack a little. So he was inspired by Jasper Johns. Maybe you've seen this piece, and if you've been in New York, I think it's at the MoMA or something. And basically, again, he has some elements of sculpture up here at the top, and then it's painting over here on the bottom. So again, he's sort of challenging or blurring the lines between painting and sculpture. And he says, yeah, why not just make objects? So he made some boxes, like I was saying earlier. You can go through those real quick. And eventually he started to get into, now this is a different artist. Who is this? This is, I think, Tony Smith or something. Yeah, Tony Smith. Now, these guys started to get something interesting going on here. Instead of just thinking about a painting seen from one perspective or creating an illusion, they decided that they're going to use actual objects, but then they're going to make them really big. You see the person there in relation to it. so that you can't just see the whole thing from one aspect or one angle. You have to walk around the whole thing. So they take into consideration the environment and how you look at art, how you perceive art. They challenge that aesthetic a little bit too. Let's let the girls leave here.
Alright, thank you all.
Yeah, say-
Sorry, it's
say
been
goodbye.
time.
Thanks for
Thank you
seeing
for
the art.
seeing you all.
Appreciate the love.
We really enjoyed